How does it feel?
Mixed feelings, actually. Of course, extremely happy, exhilarating, euphoric.
Oh,
Pero at the same time, it's still feeling of surreal. It, this did it happen really that I'm free now?
oh,
It seems unbelievable, incredible. Although it was something that I knew would happen. It's just a matter of time. I just didn't know when it's gonna happen.
but does it feel stable? Your situation now?
May disorientation pa ako eh.
Oh,
From my new and the disorientation vis-a-vis my new environment. It's not easy to adjust
oh,
because more than 6 months I considered my detention area as my home.
oh. 6 years.
So I'm adjusting now.
Oh,
I'm adjusting in my actual home, my original home. So may disorientation. Yung routine ko dun biglang na break.
yeah.
I had a very strict routine, daily routine, and now I haven't developed any new routine. It's unstable nga yung daily life ko ngayon eh.
I want to get to the routine, but I want to know, do you mean that literally that it got to the point that you had to literally tell yourself, this is my home, I have to treat this as my home? Right now? That's a conscious mindset.
Yeah, because my mindset is that I should not, this place, I should not feel as if this is really a detention place. This is not a jail for me. This should be my home, my second home.
When did you say that to yourself? From day one, or does it?
After a few months. Kasi nung una, disbelief pa ang feel ko noon eh. It was a feeling of disbelief that it was actually happening to me, that it was actually done to me. I never thought that Duterte would go to that extent of jailing me.
Why not?
Because I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't commit any crime. He knows that. That I didn't do any. I did not commit any crime.
Yes, that's you, and I can believe that much. No? And I think everybody will say that. Hindi sa konsensya ko, but
puro lang mura, vilification, black propaganda, demolition job, and all that. The name calling, immoral woman, mother of all drug lords, etc. And madami noon, the chorus of not only him, kundi yung kanyang mga tao. Sila Speaker Alvarez, sila Calida, sila Aguirre, all of them were so I thought, ganun lang. Kahit araw-araw na minumura ako. So I never thought that.
Yeah, but I'll put off a voice. I know what you're saying, that the disbelief and even the confidence comes from, wala naman akong
I didn't do anything
ginagawa.
wrong. Yeah.
Pero nakasandal din yun sa overconfidence in the system. That the system will not allow things to go beyond a certain point. Ayun yung tanong ko,
Because
did the disbelief also come from a sense of, as imperfect as our system is, there are certain depths to which it will not allow.
Yes. And that's why I've never lost faith. Imperfect as it may seem, I've never lost faith in the justice system. That's why I have to work within the system. I never thought of fleeing. Never really. In fact, there were some offers of asylum. Nung nandun ako, around 2 months before my arrest, I was out of the country, and some friends were already advising me, "Huwag ka nang babalik dito, papailan ka talaga ng kaso." So, tukulong ka talaga. But no, I have to work through or within the system. So I have faith within the system. So
But put that into context for me. I know a lot of lawyers and even activists say that. The low arm of justice and so on. The low arc of justice
will always
bend towards the right or something
Justice.
towards justice. Right? And I get that. And in a way, you're being outside now is a manifestation of, as you said, ultimately the system is working, is hopefully showing signs that it's righting itself. But put that into context for us, because you were in prison, and never mind detention, let's call it what it is. You were in prison for 7 years. Didn't the system in fact fail?
That's exactly. Okay, I'm a lawyer, and I've been trained to really believe in the law, to believe in the rule of law, to believe in the justice system. Now, yes, the system failed me. It disappointed me. It frustrated me. I mean, there's this feeling of frustration in the system of what it did to me. But I have no choice. I have to work through the system because it is only through the system that I will attain justice, that I will attain vindication. No other. I cannot go out of the system. I will never attain vindication outside of the system. How else? That's why I cannot afford to lose faith in the system.
What makes this even more remarkable is the literal framing of you and what you went through. I mean, literally, I mean literally, your framing, your container for all of these years. Just to give me and us some perspective, I know you were in detention. It was one room. You were, but what do people not actually picture in their minds, or what is not captured by all the reports about you're in isolation, you're in one room, you're deprived online access, communication. Let's start with your room. What does that look like?
It's a small room. I cannot provide the exact measurement, but it's a small room. Single bed. And then there's a small table, a working table. Nandyan yung mga papeles ko, nandyan yung mga libro ko.
Anything you want. I mean, papeles, when you say papeles, libro, you can have anything.
Yes, there's no censorship.
Yung kama, maayos naman yung katre nyo.
Yes. Ano naman siya, foam? But single only. And then there's a shelf of books. I have lots of books because my visitors would either gift me with food or books. I have lots of books that I've read already. I still have lots of books to be read. Those books that I've read, pinauwi ko na. Yun mga nabasa ko. And then there's some space there where I can, I have mega boxes there for my clothes and others.
Kahon, not a cabinet.
Not a cabinet. Wala akong cabinet doon. Just mega boxes where I could put things.
How many changes of clothes would you have, would you say?
Well, one day I would change about 3 to 4 times because it's so hot there.
Yeah.
Especially during summer, the debilitating heat. I have no aircon, but there are electric fans. And then there is an anteroom where there is some where the ice box is placed, and then for my dishes, and where I can eat also. And then
So ice box, no refrigerator.
no refrigerator.
Do you have a kitchen? Do you have a stove?
No, I have no stove. I requested for it because I wanted to cook for myself.
You cook.
Because I cook well,
No.
but I was denied that. I asked for refrigerator. I was denied that. They say it's a contraband. But meron akong ice box. I have no shower.
No shower.
No shower.
Pero may balde, may tabo.
May balde, may tabo.
Which means meron ka ring banyo.
Yes,
sarili ka-
very small banyo.
Standing and...
Yes, standing.
Okay.
And then the toilet bowl. But it's a small.
Do you have
It's a small
privacy in that room?
I have privacy. I have my own compound. It's a rather big compound, but
Okay.
but my detention cell is the only detention cell in that compound. So wala akong wala akong ka-cellmate. Well, kasi the other detainees in the PNP Custodial Center have their separate compounds. So I'm all alone. I'm isolated. I'm segregated from the rest of the detainees there. Although konti lang naman kami in the PNP
Yes.
Custodial Center.
How was the food?
But I don't accept the food from the Custodial Center. That's the advice of my friends for security reasons.
But wait. What does that mean? So for all of these years, you literally
Yes.
did not touch the food from the
Yes.
detention center?
Yes, the usual the delivery from the custodial.
But they would still deliver it? No.
Well, from day one, when I said no thanks, I'd rather get my food from my home
Dinideliver sa inyo? Every day?
every day in the morning. But that's already for breakfast, lunch,
And dinner.
and dinner. So, because I don't accept the food from the custodial.
How does that
Center.
feel? Sabi nyo nga po, parang you were in disbelief. Of course, we can all imagine the shell shock of this actually being real. But then, as you said, to be told and to be advised by your advisors, by your lawyers, by your family, na, among other things na pinoproblema mo ngayon, huwag mo rin kakainin yung kung ano man ihain sa'yo.
Para manikmuro lang.
Diba, but what does that do to you?
But I would just say, well,
Because it's one thing to...
just to be safe.
Yeah, but it's one thing to tell yourself, di ba, na I might be here. I imagine at first you think I might be here for months. Then I might be here for 2 years. Then after a certain point, it really becomes so absurd and ridiculous and unthinkable. But then it's one thing to tell yourself, mukhang kulong na ako dito. It's another thing to tell yourself, they might be trying to poison me every single day. I'm not just trying to...
It was a given thing for me. Parang, well, it's always part of the possibilities. Is there? It's a possibility that they will do that to me.
Literally fast forwarding 7 years. What do you see in the country? I mean, as you emerge from the country, I mean, not literally what you saw outside of Krame, but now na nakakahalubilan nyo ulit ang mga pamilya nyo, mga kaibigan nyo, you're seeing for yourself. It's a new administration. But at the same time, you people, I think, still feel the lingering effects of a damaged culture and the damaged politics. But that's me. What, from your perspective, what changed?
Well, I see the political stage in our country now as normalization process. After that, what major populist disruption that was the Duterte regime. So it's time to strengthen institutions that were destroyed by Duterte. And that is why I could not help thanking the BBM administration when I was granted bail by the court. It strikes me as that this administration has respected the judiciary, because that's all the judiciary needs, to respect it. Because if you just leave it alone, then it can do its job effectively and efficiently. That is delivery of justice without fear or favor. And just like my not losing faith in the justice system, I also cannot and do not lose faith in the people, in the Filipino people as a whole. Ito nga, nakikita ko nga sa general reaction to my release. I know that there are still people who continue to be, they cannot accept this positive development in my life. They are still bashers, but in a much,
well, haters will be haters and enemies will be enemies. I want to talk about people who are not necessarily enemies, who are not necessarily haters. People that you'd like to think are in fact friends and supporters, or at least sympathizers.
Yes, the general reaction has been okay, and I'm so...
But did you feel alone? Did you feel abandoned?
There were times that I feel abandoned, but just momentarily. On the whole, because my friends are there, my family is there. They never left me. They were there. They were unwavering in their support, in their compassion.
What about senators?
Well, of course, my allies in the Liberal Party, and of course, and also the likes of Senator Risa, and then Senator Sonny Trillanes, even if they're not part of the Liberal Party, also part of the opposition, they've been there. They've been unwavering also in their support, unflinching in their support. They never abandoned me, so I thank them for that. Now, some of those in the majority, I know that deep inside them, they're sympathetic also, but they cannot just openly come out in my defense or support me.
But can you understand that?
I have to understand them. They must have reasons.
Oh, so you don't?
Yeah.
Hindi, di ba? Hindi, kasi ayoko naman, I'm not just asking about politicians, but about media. Do you feel media was there? Do you think we did enough?
Well, generally, that's a difficult question, because sometimes it's a matter of perception also. Sometimes it's a matter of assessing the exact situation. And yes, there are responsible media, and I'd like to think that generally media is responsible. Media is fair. Media is independent, generally. But there are, of course, exceptions. And for as long as mainstream media and not, the social media would stick to these basic principles, these fundamental principles of independence and also fairness, then I never I never indict media as a whole. I respect media as a whole. I never have any problem with media.
How's your mom?
Oh, and of course I visited her on the third day from my release, because I definitely missed her, because it's been more than 4 years since I last saw her. She's bedridden, completely bedridden. She's semi-demented. Sometimes she would recognize people, sometimes she does not recognize them. But fortunately, she has never forgotten me. She always asked about me, according to my sister, who takes care of her. But she doesn't know. She never knew that.
So, ang official press release kay Mami?
Nasa US ako, nag-aral ako for more than 6 years. Sabi nga daw ng mami ko, sabi ng sister ko, ano ba yung course ni Leila? At napakatagal. So at least, when it comes to me, she has not forgotten. She's very lucid, always.
So does she ask you those details? So Leila, ano bang pinag-aralan mo?
Hindi na siya nagtanong. She was just very happy when she saw me pagbisita ko. And then she started saying in our dialect, wag mo na akong iiwanan, ha? Wag mo na akong iiwanan. And then she also said, malapit na akong mamatay. But according to my sister, lagi naman niyang sinasabi yan na malapit na siya.
Ilang taon na po siya?
91 years old. So I definitely miss her, and that's part of my prayers actually. Nung nasa kulungan pa ako, Lord, since napahintay niyo na siya all this time, sana po hintayin niya talagang mama sa paglaya ko. Mahintay, kasi there are times na my siblings would tell me, mihina na naman si mami, so baka anytime na pwede na to, baka iwanan na tayo. But
did she have a sense of time of time away? Parang she doesn't know, di ba? But with her condition, with her dementia, did she have a concept of tagal na nun na?
Oh, actually, in my case, bakit ang tagal ni Leila? Bakit, ano bang pinag-aaralan niya? Anong course niya? At least in my case. But that's it. Yun talaga ang prayers ko. Pahintayin na lang, Lord.
Okay.
Anyway, baka malapit na siguro.
Okay. You talked about your routine. And sabi
Yeah.
diba, actually, ang malaking problema ngayon is now you have to change your routine again.
I don't have a routine yet. It's so my life now. It's
But
so
but
unstable.
Oh, sige, okay. But tell me the routine first. Kung ako, makalabos, and what are your life hacks for, how do I keep myself sane? And what was your routine to keep yourself sane?
Well, this is to adopt a very strict daily routinary life. I wake up at between 4:30 to 5 o'clock. Automatic na yun kahit hindi nga ako mag-alarm. And then, since it's still dark outside, I will first pray the rosary, read the Bible, do some reflection, and then start writing the letters, instructions to the staff. And then pag magliwanag na, I'll go out of my cell and then start my exercise. I do some exercise, do some walking, and then feed my cats.
Ooh.
My stray cats. I have lots of stray cats there. And then I would also feed the chickens there. There are chickens. The ones inaalagaan.
That can't be stray.
No?
The cats are stray. The chickens, why are there chickens there?
Mga inaalagaan sila ng mga guards. So sometimes ako nagpapakain sa kanila. And then the birds, they assemble there in the morning in my compound. So pinapakain ko rin sila. And then I clean my compound. I do the cleaning. And then I do some gardening. I have a small garden there. So while waiting for the breakfast, because my breakfast comes between 9 to 9:30. So after I take breakfast, I take my shower, and then I resume my writings. And then I start my readings of various books before lunch. But I also take late lunch. And then after lunch, I take some nap, hour nap, 30 minutes, 45 minutes. And then I again resume my readings. Then late afternoon, early evening, after the Angelus, I write in my journals. I write in my journal every day from day one. All my reflections of the day, the happenings of the day, my observations of the day, I would write.
Are we going to
in
read
my
those,
journal.
Are we going to be seeing those journals anytime soon?
I intend to write a book. I just don't know when to start and how to start it. So I
Wala kayong TV.
wala.
So wala, not even so you missed the entire all of this.
Yeah, I don't have TV, but I have a privilege, just like the other detainees, of movie viewing privilege every Saturday, once a week.
Okay.
My schedule is at 1 to 5 every Saturday. There's a TV set there's the viewing room, the receiving area. So I go there every Saturday at 1 to 5 to watch movies. But I don't have a TV in my room.
Movies as in Netflix or
Netflix, Chloe.
Okay.
I watched Chloe.
Okay.
I watched Squid Games.
Okay.
I watched
Attorney Wu.
Extraordinary Attorney Wu. I watched Queen Maker
Queenmaker. Okay.
and some other K-dramas and some English series also, like The Crown, etc.
But when you watch, you say it's a viewing room for everybody. Are you watching with everybody else, or
No,
even
I'm
there
alone.
you're alone?
I'm alone. Yes. I'm not allowed to mingle with others.
So who brings in the movies?
I ask my staff to download
Okay.
in a hard drive, and then the custodial people will check it to make sure that only movies are downloaded.
Napanood nila ang
So sila muna manonood
Tanaburin nila.
bago ako.
Your lawyers, of course, are a main lifeline contact to the outside world. How often do you see them?
It depends on whether there are developments, important developments in the case that we need to discuss. So, but generally it would just be twice a month, but sometimes once a week. My family would regularly visit me
Okay.
because under the law, the authorized visitors, no need for court approval, would be family and relatives lawyers, spiritual advisors, and doctors, especially in cases of emergency. So even without court order, they are allowed anytime.
They can just walk in.
They can just walk in. Now there's a master list of these visitors. Now all other visitors, type of visitors, you need court order.
So so on average, how many visitors do you get to see?
Before the pandemic, it's regular, almost daily, except Monday, because Monday is non-visitors day in the custodial, at the PNP Custodial Center. So Tuesday to Friday is 1 to 5 p.m. Weekends is 8 to 5. So before the pandemic, it's almost daily, almost every day, there are visitors. But during the pandemic, hardly. There was even a time, first 4 months of the pandemic, at the height of the pandemic, there was total lockdown. Absolutely. No visitors, not even family, not even lawyers. So can you imagine, kung wala yung mga pusa, so my cats.
So, nabanggit nyo nga. And then I read, it said, correct me if I'm wrong, it said, the stories that I read said, you were allowed to take 5 cats with you?
My favorite cats.
Out of how many?
More than 20.
Wow.
These are stray cats that come and go. Some are mainstays in my compound. They hardly leave the compound. Some would just come during mealtime. I feed them twice a day. So when it's time for me to leave, November 13, I had to choose 5. Yung mga favorite ko. If only I could bring them all.
Yeah.
But it's not possible for me to do so. I would have no space at home. And I have dogs at home and they hate cats. So problema ko yun.
Were you actually a cat person though?
No, I used to hate cats. It's only when I was detained, I'm detained, that nagustuhan ko. Napamahal na rin ako sa pusa because my dogs hate cats.
Yeah.
So
when you see them as your companions from this chapter of your life, and does it remind you of those days? I mean, or do you have an existence with your cats now that is totally isolated now from what it was?
I was simply got so attached to the cats. I see in them something that may character sila na iba. They're intelligent, they're sensitive, and they're of course dogs are intelligent, they're also sensitive, and there is some special quality in cats that you would really appreciate.
What is it? I mean, can you put your finger on it? I was never always a pet person. Now for too many reasons and too long a story, we now have more than a dozen dogs and more than a dozen cats. But we started with dogs. And then now, same thing. During the pandemic, my wife, Joy, now has brought in more than a dozen cats now. Can you put your finger on it? What's the difference between cats and dogs?
Well, actually, the dogs consider you really as the master. It seems to be the other way around for cats. But, it's okay. Okay lang yun. Na parang sila ang master mo. It makes you, it's very humbling. Really.
Yeah.
It's very humbling. And you don't get yourself to complain.
Nahihirapan ka lang.
Pinapahirapan ka, pero it's okay.
But do you remember what exactly happened? And was it a complete shock? It
was harrowing. Of course, it was totally unexpected. It was a Sunday. It was about 6:30. I was praying the rosary. I was half lying down my bed. Because, pag medyo maliwanag na, I open my quarters. Because it's my own compound. All the rest have also their respective compounds. They're supposed to be locked.
You never see them. You've never seen these people in your...
I've seen them once in a while. But I seldom talk to them. Now, I know that they're isolated also in their respective compound. That morning, it so happened that there was some lapse of security because I think there was only one personnel who brought the breakfast, the meal for this Abu Sayyaf detainees. So pinagsasaksak na siya. And then buti na lang the guy on the at the tower, a sniper, nabaril yung dalawa. At yung isa nakatakas, tumakbo, mabilis daw tumakbo. And even if the gate was locked in their compound, and even if the gate, the fence ay merong barbed wire pa sa taas, he climbed over that and then ran towards my compound. And since bukas na nga yung detention area ko, nakapasok siya sa kwarto ko. I was half lying down. All of a sudden, nandyan sa harap ko, this guy. Yeah. And then he grabbed me. I thought I was just dreaming. He grabbed me. Sumama kayo sa akin, ma'am. Kasi pinatay na ho yung dalawa kong kasama. Ikaw lang ho ang pag-asa ko para makalabas ako dito ng buhay. Ano ba? Ano ka ba? Sino ka ba? Ganon. So sinabi niya yung pangalan. And then, sino ba yung dalawang nakasama mo? Sinabi rin niya. When he said that, sabi ko, ito yung mabait. Kasi nakakausap ko naman sila dati. And then, but I could hardly recognize him. He had some mustache, and then parang he gained weight, and then his eyes were nanlilisik. And then his voice was really scary. So, inano niya ako, and then tinali niya yung kamay ko. And then kinaladkad niya ako palabas. And then he was manhandling me actually. And then papunta sa gate, inano niya ako. He pushed me, nadapa ako twice. Nagkaroon ako ng hematoma nga dito. And then ginaganon niya ako. And then there's this knife, improvised knife. He was constantly pressing hard dito sa chest. Dito, pag ganyan-ganyan siya. Sometimes dito sa my heart. But I would shout. I would say, ang sakit, wag naman ganyan. So he would ease it up. And then, nung nakita niya, kasi sinara na yung main gate doon sa maximum compound, security compound. They call it maximum security compound. And then, nandun uli yung sniper was pointing the gun, and then that guy was shouting, wag mo sasaktan si ma'am, wag mong sasaktan si ma'am. Hindi kita babarilin, basta wag mo sasaktan si ma'am. So he was at my back. He was doing like this. And then nakaganyan siya, ganyan. So he had no choice since wala na, hindi na kami makakalabas doon, linak na nila. The gate there was locked. And then there was this SAF guy. So binalik ako ulit sa kwarto.
No hostage taker.
The hostage taker. Kinaladkad na naman ako. I was almost always, lagi akong nadadapa. Pagdating sa kwarto, pinaupo niya ako doon sa swivel chair ko. And then, he blindfolded me. And then, inano rin niya yung pa ako. And then he was saying, tawagin mo sila, ma'am. Humingi ka ng C-130 plane. Punta tayo sa Sulu. Sa mga kasamahan ko doon. And then, mag-ano ka rin ng Hammer vehicle as a getaway vehicle. Also media. Magtawag ka ng media. Ma'am, nasan yung cellphone mo? Wala akong cellphone. And then he said, imposible. Wala talaga ako. Papatayin kita, ma'am. Kung hindi mo, as he would always say, ma'am, papatayin kita, ma'am. Kung hindi mo i-produce yung cellphone. Sabi ko, kahit patayin mo ko, wala ka makikita ang cellphone dyan. And then, after a few minutes, may mga dumating, but I could not see them, of course, because I was blindfolded already. Nakaupo ako, he was here, and then nandun sa likod ko, yung mga, the SAF, malalayo sila actually. But the guy, the head of HSS, the Headquarters Service Support Service, the director PES was the one negotiating. According to, we cannot just produce. We cannot just produce yung mga dinidemand mo. It's not within my authority. Papatayin ko to si ma'am kung hindi nyo ibibigay yung mga hinihingi ko. About media naman, sabi ni Director PES, hindi pwedeng pumasok dito yung media. Papatayin ko kayo. Papatayin ko to si ma'am kung hindi nyo papupuntayin ng media. But Director PES stood pat about it. So, whole time we would say, papatayin ko to si ma'am kung hindi nyo ganyan. So, until about 6:30 and then about 7:10, he told me, ma'am, pag 7:30 wala pa rin, pasensya na. Papatayin na kita. Sama-sama na tayo. But even before 7:30, he started praying. Ma'am, mukhang hindi talaga nila ibibigay. So, oras na. He said his exact words, oras na. And then he started praying in Islam, in Arabic. So I that's the time I got so scared. So I started praying na rin silently. I said, Lord, bahala na kayo sa pamilya ko. And then sabi ko, Lord, pwede ho ba isang tusok lang, that's it, rather than, slow death. And then he made a mistake. After praying, he asked for water. So that's the opportunity now for Director PES to approach us. And sabi ni Director PES later, he told me, nakaready na talaga siya. He had a small handgun na hindi masyado nakikita dito. He was just waiting for the right opportunity to shoot the guy. But he wanted to make sure first, about two things. Number one, that I was still, because mahirap kung malikot ako because baka akong tamaan. And then he said he noticed I was really still. He thought I was in shock, but I told him I was praying and I was just listening. And then second, he wanted also to make sure that the guy had nothing else except the knife. Baka kasi may, a grenade or something. So when he handed over the glass of water as requested by the hostage taker, that was the chance to shoot him. Hindi ko na nakita. Basta hindi ko nga, I wasn't expecting.
You have no image of it.
I did not have any image of it. Basta narinig ko na lang yung putok 4 times. Close range, because this Director PES was...
But the guy was, what, behind you, beside you?
In front of me. So close range. Kaya,
And so he was in front of you. The officer was...
Here, right side. Right side. So I didn't see it. Just the sound.
No memory of it.
No memory of it. The way he fell and all.
But you had accepted at a certain point. You had accepted, as he said, na oras na.
Oras na. I thought it was the end of it. Really. Really.
With everything that went on, we asked a lot about, what did you see has changed in the country? But what has changed in you after 7 years?
Well, I think I mellowed a bit. Because, with such a small physical space, I learned to appreciate everything in my surroundings. The small things, mundane things mattered. That what essential things really mattered. That anytime you will go, and then therefore you have to relish every moment. That anytime mawawala ka na. And so appreciate every moment, everything around you. And sabi ko, noon kasi, syempre, there are so many things. You are an alcoholic, workaholic.
Meme na yun. Me.
I was a workaholic, and therefore I don't care about the small things, mundane things, and even sometimes I didn't have even time for my family. There were times that they were not my priority. So I realized that they're the most important thing also, my family. So that's why, that's part of my prayers. Lord, sana makalaya na po ako so that I can now have more time with my family, love them more, take care of them more. And that there are limitations.
Did your prayer change? You mentioned a lot of prayers. The rosary. I'm not going to ask you to recite the rosary, obviously. You say you pray for
That's
your
another
family.
big change. I was not this prayerful before. Yes, I would attend Sunday masses almost every Sunday, but I was not that prayerful. I was not a regular Holy Rosary prayer. I was not a regular Bible reader. I would hardly reflect. But in detention, I had all the time to do that. I pray every day. I pray the Rosary every day. I read the Bible every day. I read devotional books every day. So that's a big change.
I would be very happy to end our conversation there, and I actually hate to not leave it there, but I do have a question still that I have to ask. I don't know if you've met your colleagues in the Senate since, individually or as a body or as a group. Have you?
Well, just Sen Risa and Sen Sonny Trillanes, my usual allies.
But if you can be with the plenary, and knowing the political divides, the political lines, but also, standing there as a peer, and as a colleague and as a fellow senator, what would be your message to them after what you endured, after what you went through, and seeing how they behaved, how they acted or didn't act? What would be your message to them if you were at the plenary?
Well, at the plenary.
Ooh.
Well,
It doesn't have to be that formal, but the point is to them and to the power that they represent.
Well, I would just say that I hope you realize that I've been deeply wronged. And I hope that you realize that you would have done something more to be, the succor of to be of help to a beleaguered colleague. That's all I would say. I hope you realize that a colleague of yours had been deeply wronged and that you were wanting in your moral duty to be of help. Something like that.
Okay. This went on for too long. I actually forgot to introduce you.
Oh.
No, but it was, of course, not that it needs an introduction, of course, Senator Leila De Lima. And unfortunately, our viewers know the drill. We only have about 50 minutes to 1 hour for the show, and you will have to leave us again. I still have the privilege of still having my wine, her having her coffee. I'll take a few more minutes to continue my conversation, but unfortunately, you will have to leave us. Catch us again next Thursday, 9 p.m. Manila time on One News. You can also check out the long conversation on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or kung saan man kayo pumapodcast. Speaking of, you can also catch all of this on Puma Podcast. That's where I podcast. That's our company. We will also be uploading all the interviews that we do here on Puma Podcast. So hanapin nyo rin po yan. Ako po si Robbie Alampay. This is Senator Leila De Lima. Not that she needs any introduction. And this is Roundtable. Thank you for for joining us.
Thank you so much, Rob.